G'day, I'm Angus Kidman from Finder. Now, I've been flying for 25 years and I'm going to level with you. The only way to have a perfect flight is if you're lucky enough to get into first class. But there are some tips that you can follow to make the experience much, much better, whether you're a veteran like me or this is the first time you've flown. So let's check out our top 10 tips for the perfect flight. One thing that can make flying much easier is if you've got a vacant seat or two next to yourself. To maximise your chances of getting that, try flying in October or November. That's off-peak for pretty much every airline around the world, so you'll have a much better chance of having that all-important person not sitting next to you. If that's not an option, you have to fly another time, aim to get seats towards the back of the plane. People normally try and avoid that area like the plague, so if you're lucky, you can get an entire row of seats all to yourself. It's almost as good as being in business class, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. If you're worried about turbulence, then try and get yourself a seat that's over the wing area of the plane in the middle, because that's generally where you experience it the least. If all the seats over the wing have been taken, then aim for somewhere forward in the plane. The experience of turbulence is always the worst at the back. Looking for more legroom? Your best bet is to get an exit row seat. Unfortunately, pretty much every airline these days will charge you for that. But to be honest, if you're 6'6", it's totally worth it. Better to pay a little bit more money and not ruin your knees. If you're hoping for as much quiet on your flight as possible, you want to avoid the areas where parents with babies congregate. That's usually towards the front of each cabin. So don't go for one of those ones up the front or near the bulkhead if you're really hoping for a good night's rest. If you're a person who feels the cold, then you'll want to avoid taking a window seat. The outside of the plane gets really, really chilly at high altitudes, and you'll feel that a little bit in the body of the plane. So if you're looking for warmth, definitely head for those center seats and maybe pack an extra blanket or two as well. To make sure you get your meal first, order a special meal like a vegetarian or dietary option. They always get served up before the main meal, so you'll be able to sit there looking smug and eating while everyone else is still waiting. It's always a good idea, just before you head to the airport for your flight, to pull out your phone and check on the status on the airport website. If there's been a delay, then there's really no point heading to the airport till you know you've got a chance of checking in and taking off. And that saves you hanging around with all those annoying, sweaty people. Food and drink at the airport is notoriously expensive, so if you're looking to save some money, consider packing food and drinks and putting them in your carry-on luggage. Just remember that with international flights, you're not allowed to take liquids that are more than 100 mils. But you can get around that by taking an empty water bottle and then filling it up at a bubbler or a dispenser inside the airport. It's a good idea to pack some basic toiletries in your carry-on so that you can freshen up during or after the flight. But again, you've got to remember those liquid restrictions, so make sure that whatever you're taking is 100 mils or less. I'd also advise packing a spare pair of socks and undies so that if your luggage does go missing during flight, you're not going to feel totally grotty while you wait for the airline to find it. It's really easy to become dehydrated in flight. Obviously, you should drink plenty of liquids, but it's also important to not load up on sodium because that will make you dehydrate much faster. So sorry guys, this is not the time to break out the Pringles. You can find lots more tips to make travel easier on the Finder site. Thanks for watching.